What's up, you guys? I'm Dan, this is Frugal Not Cheap, and today we'll look at Tesla's 2023 software update for Legacy Model S. So if you don't know, Legacy Model S and X vehicles are those that have portrait screens and that were produced up to really beyond late 2020 and into early 2021. So up to the so-called Raven refresh, and then the newest refresh Model S and X's that have a landscape screen, those are called the Palladium models. So basically any Model S that was produced from 2012 through early 2021 could be considered Legacy Model S. And then of course, depending on what year exactly, you might have the old media control unit or the new media control unit. And my car has the Intel Atom second generation media control unit, or MCU2. So let's jump in the car and see what we got with this update, which is 2023.44.30.4. Okay, let's take a look at what we've got with this update. So I already installed the update before. All right, so first thing, unfortunately, to begin with is a negative, and that is that before, when I would first start the vehicle, it would immediately go towards the streaming audio service, and it would load something up in here. But now, as you can see, we just get this bug. And luckily, most of the music I play is off of USB anyway, so it's not really a big deal. And if I do change over to streaming, then I am, of course, able to get it going. So we could go and get some music going here, right? But yeah, it is an annoying bug that came with this new software version, unfortunately. But let's see what else the software version came with. Right, so as you can see, here are the release notes. And so one of the cool things that happened before this update was actually a couple of nice little things. One is to see if there is availability at destination chargers. And then the other was that now you could do a single pull to start autopilot. So in the past, I would have to pull on the cruise control stalk twice in order to activate autopilot and FSD. And then now with this feature enabled, then you only need to pull that once in order to enable the feature, which is much better. I really appreciate that. What it also means is that when you disengage the autopilot or FSD, either by pressing on the brakes down there or by pulling on the steering wheel, then it will completely disengage the system. In other words, before, one pull would engage traffic-aware cruise control, and then two pulls would engage autopilot/FSD. Now it will take you from either all the way, complete driver aids to complete zero, so that your speed is no longer being modulated when you take over. And I think that's a really good thing. I found some cases where I really don't want it to continue to try to keep speed, and I'd really rather set it myself by the accelerator and by the brake pedal, of course. All right, so enough said about that. The new update, as you can see here, was 2023.44.30. This is the holiday update. And I guess we'll begin from the bottom and kind of go up. So the first thing was what they call minor updates, which actually I think are pretty impactful for some people. The first bullet point there is shuffle for title, playlists, and albums. So if you're someone that cares about high quality audio, title, when the songs are first played over Wi-Fi so that they download in sort of hi-fi, that's probably your second best bet for audio quality after USB, which is what I use. But before with title, you couldn't shuffle playlists, and that was a real drag. And so now you can, and that's an awesome deal. You've also got now the account profile images for Apple Music and Spotify if you use those. But again, at least for my ears, the audio quality is pretty trash on those, especially at higher volumes. At lower volumes, you wouldn't notice very much, but at higher volumes, it makes a big difference to me. And then another cool one is now that you can search the owner's manual from the search screen. So that's pretty good. I don't actually ever look at the owner's manual, but anyway, it could be handy in some cases, I'm sure. And then also you're now able to toggle between the charging speeds and charging locations. So if I go here and I'm looking at all these chargers, then here we have the superchargers with those 3 dots, but we can also go to the kind of destination chargers as well here, and we can kind of toggle toggle their display of, which ones we want to see. So let's say I only wanted destination chargers. There we go. And then, there we go. So I just keep it only on superchargers. I don't much care for the slow ones. Next, we have basically the infamous recall. You may have seen a lot of news about, this big recall that affected all Tesla vehicles in the United States. All this was the NHTSA, the Traffic Safety Authority. Basically, NHTSA was saying that people have been abusing the system too much, and they wanted Tesla to do something about it. And so Tesla went ahead and did something about it, which is now to nag people when they're on autopilot in much the same way that we had a nag in FSD beta. So not just a nag, but also actually suspending people for abusing the system multiple times. So before you would kind of get into FSD beta jail if you got 3 strikes at one point. I think maybe they moved it to 5. Anyway, so now if you've got 5 strikes where it's telling you, hey, pay attention, you don't do it, then it's going to be kicking you out of autopilot for, I think, a week is the suspension. Let's take a look. So here we go in the autopilot settings. As you can see here, I have it on FSD beta, where after 3 improper uses, then it won't operate. And it says it will no longer operate. That doesn't mean it's final. It's either for a week or 2 or something like that. I don't think I've ever had maybe 1 strike early on, but anyway, I've never gotten locked out, certainly. So even on auto steer, as you can see here, we also get, it's autopilot disables 3 times due to improper use, then it won't operate. So it applies to both. All right, we want to get beta back on here, of course. So that's the big scary recall, and it just came over and over the Air software updates. So a lot of people out there hear the word recall, they think you've got to bring your vehicle in. But with Tesla, the amount of physical recalls doesn't seem to be very high. I haven't looked at the statistics, but seems to be quite low. My vehicle had one for like a latch in the hood that we got fixed, and that was pretty much it. Everything else has been over the air, which is pretty amazing. All right, so other features that we got, alternative routes while driving. This is handy, where before you'd have to cancel a route and then start a new one and then choose your different routes. So that was kind of a pain. Where now, if you don't like the route that it's taking, which if you've watched my videos for a long time, you know that I hate driving on Ohio Drive, then I'll be able to reroute en route, and that's going to make life a lot easier. Then we got some Tesla Arcade updates. Here, basically, we got updates to Beach Buggy Racing and to the Polytopia game as well. I've never played Polytopia, but Beach Buggy Racing is a lot of fun. And we got some new vehicles, including, yes, you guessed it, well, you can see it there, the Cybertruck. And then also there's like a fancy version of the Model S from Unplugged Performance as well. So I did download those 2 updates, and I'll play the games, but yeah, unfortunately, not everything, as it says here, availability varies by model and location. More on that later. But we didn't get the Vampire Survivors game on this car with MCU 2, because I think you need a Ryzen processor. So that's the newest ones, the more fast, more powerful media control processors. And I've got kind of the 2nd generation and not that 3rd generation. We did get a little bit of a new media feature here, which is Apple Podcasts. I never use Apple Podcasts. I would probably just use Spotify if I were doing podcasts in the car. But it's nice that they added that, especially because I know a lot of Tesla people tend to be Apple people as well. So more integration there is probably good for them. On this topic of apps, though, one app that's severely missing that I would really like to see in the near future would be the X, or formerly Twitter app, because of the live spaces. It'd be nice to listen to those live spaces while driving, and then it would also be nice to be able to scroll Twitter when parked. So that would be cool if we get an X app in the future that's going to allow both of those states, right? To be able to continue to listen to live spaces while driving. But then if you want to scroll around and read stuff, then you've got to be parked, of course, because that wouldn't be very safe otherwise. So unfortunately, that's pretty much it when it comes to the holiday update for Model S and X. If you've been on X or on the internet anywhere, you may have seen that there are some other features that also came for the holiday update for newer vehicles. And so I am pretty disappointed that those aren't coming, especially some of them are safety related and should be really not hard to implement on this vehicle. So what are those things? Well, one of them is that now with the blind spot cameras, when you put on your indicator to turn left or right, the blind spot camera will not only show up, but when there's a car in your blind spot, It will also have a red bar to let you know that it is not safe to perform a lane change maneuver at that time. So I think that's a good safety feature addition. Another one, and this one they definitely could have added on this car, is automatic 911 calls after it detects that you've been in an accident. So of course this car will know if it's been in an accident, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be able to set that up for us. Then another one is in the navigation update, where now it will show stop signs and traffic lights and speed cameras and that kind of thing. And again, there's no reason why they couldn't implement that in this car. I don't know why that's not on here just yet. Cars also got the ability to do multiple light shows, whereas before they could only do one light show. Not a big deal, but it, especially for me, it didn't come because this kind of Model S has never had a light show. The legacy Model X's have been able to do a light show, but that feature, as far as I know, didn't get to them, so they're also still restricted to just one. So really a lot of the development has been restricted to the landscape screen, and they just, engineers didn't put any effort into these portrait screen older Model S and X, which I think is really kind of a shame. Probably the coolest feature that came with the holiday update is one that came only to newer cars and only to cars that do not have ultrasonic sensors. So those are cars that are working on Tesla Vision, because they have absolutely no use of they don't have ultrasonic sensors on there. And so a lot of people were complaining that the Tesla Vision sort of park assist was not very good, that the estimates for how far you are from objects was not very good. Well, now they're leveraging the occupancy network from Full Self-Driving Beta as a way to generate a 3D map of the surroundings of the vehicle, and I think it looks really, really cool. Apparently the accuracy has been quite good, quite strong as well, and so it's not coming just to Model 3 and Y. It's also available on new Model S and X in the instrument cluster that don't have, again, ultrasonic sensors. There you can't rotate the view, which isn't as great, but it's still pretty cool. So I'm hoping, though, that will also filter down to legacy Model S and X. I don't know what's going on. So I would understand if Tesla was a tiny company and they just didn't have any resources. And I also get the idea that, hey, we would want to have some kind of differentiation between older vehicles and newer vehicles. But at the same time, especially for these kind of more safety-oriented features, such as the high-fidelity park assist, the emergency 911 calls, and then also stop signs and traffic lights, I certainly think that they should be passing on those down to all vehicles that they can. And they definitely have the resources to get some programmers to do that. So I hope that they'll do that in the future. Now, aside from the bug that I showed you at the very beginning with the media player, unfortunately there were some other negative things that came along with this instance of the holiday software update. And one of those is basically with the auto wipers here. As you can see, I do have them activated, but unfortunately what happened with this update, and there were a lot of people that were on the advanced FSD beta branch that were complaining about an issue with auto wipers. I never had one, but with old legacy Model S and X, we do have this kind of wheel. We have this control stalk, and we have that we can toggle the speed of the wipers. Well, in the past, when you had auto wipers on, if you had them on, then the wiper speed would be entirely controlled by, of course, the rain sensing neural nets, or the software. But now, as you can see, what's happening is that that's no longer being activated, and the speed that the wipers are going on is entirely set by what you set here. And so, yeah, this is not good at all. So I don't know. This is a bug that I hope they're gonna fix. And in fact, I do have a software update pending, as you can see here. So I hope that when I get this update, this point update 2023.44.30.6, that is going to fix this wiper issue, and then hopefully also that bug with the media player as well. So we'll see about that. It's been kind of a spotty rollout here, where we saw a lot of different versions of the holiday update going out there. We saw everything from 30.1, .2, .3, .4, .5, and then of course we saw a .5.1 come out, which looks like it is a bug fix update for some cars, and then this .6, which is a bug fix update for cars like mine that ended up getting .4 initially, that had some bugs in it. So yeah, kind of a messy rollout this year. These things happen. There are so many different variants of the cars out there that you know, probably QA just has a hard time getting all of this stuff done and catching everything with all the complexity. But you know, generally QA is pretty good, although there are some bugs that still remain. Oh gosh, that reminds me, there's one last negative thing before we move on to other topics, and that is that Tesla has yet to fix probably my biggest bugbear, which is of course USB album art. So we'll go over here, we're over on USB, we start playing a song, we go over to the instrument cluster, and everything's fine. Initially, we got the same album art, but if we change tracks, you can see here, album art changes just fine in the center screen, but the instrument cluster is still messed up, which means I'm continuing to not use the media display in the instrument cluster because that's just too annoying. Yeah, so it's been years of this nonsense. I have no idea what's going on. And this one bugs me just because it's just sheer laziness and like the complacency with having really a bug out there for this long doesn't speak too well to me for kind of their care and attention to the software. So yeah, especially, you know, again, Tesla's a huge company now. They have tons of resources. Let's just clean up these little things. Yeah, why not? Now, the last thing that came with the holiday update. Here it says there's some driving visualization improvements for FSD beta. I haven't seen those. It looks exactly the same to me. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen any changes at all. But of course, it's going to be the latest version of FSD beta, which is 11.4.9, which has these release notes. So what happened for a long time there is that we had basically 3 different branches. We had non-FSD beta folks. We had FSD beta folks that were on the advanced, getting kind of like the latest software updates, the early access preview or whatever you want to call it. Those people were on you know, 11.4.7.x or something like that. And then there were people like me that were on FSD beta, but they were stuck at version 11.4.4 for a few months. I'm not sure exactly how long it's been. So all of a sudden with this holiday update, we've all converged on version 11.3.9. So that was kind of exciting. Some of the release notes look pretty cool, but we're going to have to find out how it performs in my next video, which will be our usual test route of FSD beta version 11.4.9. Because of my weekly upload schedule, that's going to be coming out in 2024. So for now, I'm just going to say I hope you liked today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, which is in the new year, so Happy New Year!